three, using the same three colours: burnt umber, primary red, a bit of Naples yellow. I've made up what I think is going to be a slightly lighter tone. Test that in the margin, test it on the chin. Yeah, we've got a slightly lighter tone there. I can control the temperature of that by the amount of red that I add to it. So let's go round our pattern again. The paint's drying back quite well here. The thing I want to avoid, because I'm using a dry brush technique, I don't want to pull up the skin of the paint that's forming. So if it gets a bit too wet and a bit too thick, I'm just going to have to leave it to dry for a bit. But if I'm gentle, I can work my lighter, almost pinky red colour, looking at the basic geography, as I was talking about, of the higher points of the face. So you can see we've got this kind of flying bird shape again. Look, there's the wings, there's the body, there's the tail. And we've got a lot of illumination down the centre of the nose, and then out onto the nostril, tip of the nose. Now this brush is, big and scruffy. I'm going to keep working with it until I can't work with it anymore and go down to a finer detail at that point. But I'm just looking at the shape of the illumination on the cheek, pushing a little bit further up now towards the eye, because we've got these rather craggy but lovely cheekbone sort of areas here. A little bit more illumination where the top lids are going to be. Now this lady is going to look a lot younger because what I'm doing is I'm building up areas of smooth contouring. It's a bit like getting a big lump of clay and moulding it with your fingers. And then we'll put the wrinkles back in afterwards. So this technique works on people of all ages. It's great fun, playing with faces, different characters. And I mean, let's face it, our job here today is to do this one person, as I said. But if we get a human being, that's a big plus. If we get someone that looks remotely like this person, that's brilliant. If we get a good likeness of that person, and if you're trying this out as well, if you get a really good likeness at the first attempt, well, that pretty much puts you in the same position as a nationally acclaimed portrait artist, doesn't it? Aim high and step back and look at the wonderful thing that you've created, and compare it with the last time you saw an international artist's work of a famous person pop up in the press. Take 10 people at random and I reckon 5 of them wouldn't like it. So if you do your wonderful portrait and only 5 out of 10 people like it, then you've reached the standard already of an internationally famous portrait artist. So this is like making somebody come out of the wings on a stage on a theatre, and they're just walking out into the light. So increasing amounts of primary red and Naples yellow, and we can gradually, a little bit more perhaps. You can soon get an intuitive kind of thing about whether you add too much yellow or too much red. And we can pull this person further out of the background. Using acrylics like this, it's almost like using an airbrush. The one thing you mustn't do is get the paint too wet, and it will then go on in big splodgy marks. Of course, if you want to do a painting using a big splodgy mark effect, then that's exactly the way to do things. So, I mean, the tone I'm working with now, you can see on this paper here, is still effectively medium to dark brown. But because of the contrast on the background here, I think we're getting to the kind of... now, I'm not being conceited here. What I was going to say was, if you look at a Rembrandt portrait, his characters look as if they're illuminated by candlelight. and I think we're approaching that sort of effect at the moment. So there's the next section.